Hello and welcome to this short video called Everything is Fine. This is part of our short series of Caring for Yourself videos. Hello from us, we are from Team Boo, and what we do at Boo is we support organisations to be the happiest and healthiest they can be. And we do this through coaching, through leadership and well-being initiatives. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is our well-being. Think about our well-being, a really good place to start is by looking at the well-being grid. If you haven't seen Properly Selfish, please watch that as we go into that into more detail. But just a quick overview here. When we are in a place where we've got high and positive energy, this is our performance space. We feel great in this space. We're getting things done, we're efficient, we're focused, we're a lot more collaborative, creative with people, and we feel more confident in this space. When we are in this space, we are probably more likely to talk about how we are doing, and we're probably more likely when somebody says to us, "How are you doing?" to give the answer, "Actually, I'm really good. Things are going well at the moment." When we're in this space, we often take on a lot. We often find ourselves doing a little bit more because we're doing really well. And what can happen if we take on too much is we can move over into the negative energy side where we're experiencing stress. When we are in our stress space, we might be feeling like we want to withdraw. We might be finding difficulties concentrating. We'll be finding it difficult to get things done. Maybe you'll find it difficult to make decisions or to be able to move on with things. We can get stuck a little bit in our stress space and it can feel quite overwhelming. We might hear from our inner critic a lot in this space. We might hear our inner critic saying negative things to us, and it's a really tricky space to be in. I can imagine that when you ask somebody how they're doing in this stress space, they'll probably say, "I'm fine," when actually what's going on underneath is not fine. If we are in this stress space for too long, we might end up in a space called burnout, where we've got negative and low energy. In this space, we won't have any energy for anything, so we will need support in this space, whether that is through medication, whether it's through talking therapies, but it absolutely will be through some rest and renewal. Today, the type of renewal that we're going to be talking about is having conversations and speaking about our mental health, connecting with others and finding ways to support each other through being brave and talking about our mental health. When it comes to mental health in the workplace, there's a huge amount of research and there's a lot of statistics around the common nature of this. Mind have done some research where they found that 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health problem of some kind each year, and as much as 1 in 6 will report common experiences like anxiety and depression in any given week in England. So it's a really common thing to experience mental health problems. As well as this, when we look at this from a wider perspective, if everybody that had mental health problems was able to contribute to the economy, was given the support that they needed, what we would find is that the value added would be around 225 billion per year, which is massive. And as well as this, if we were to support people in the workplace in terms of their well-being, we can increase productivity by as much as 12%. So it's a lot, there's a high volume here. I wonder how many times at work we have said to somebody, "How are you doing?" and they've said, "I'm fine." Or if somebody said to us, "How are you doing?" and we've said, "I'm fine." I wonder how many times, if we counted it, how many times we've said it out loud and not really meant it. Are we brave enough to talk about our emotional well-being and to talk about our mental health? That's what we want to start thinking about today and start encouraging some ways to do this. However, if we are going to encourage people to speak about their mental health and how they're feeling, we need to be in a position to listen properly. I'm going to introduce you to the 5 levels of listening. Now, the first level is ignoring. We receive something like 13.5 million pieces of information per second. So in some cases, we do have to ignore people. We have to ignore things to be able to get on with our lives and to be able to get things done. However, if somebody is not okay, we really need to not be in that ignoring space. The next stage of listening is pretend listening. This is where we're giving all the signals. Yep, definitely. Oh, yeah, that's really interesting. We're giving the signals that we're listening, but we're not actually taking anything in. Again, if we are supporting somebody, we need not to be in this space. The next level of listening is selective listening. Now, we will often be within this space when we're out with friends. It's what I call chit-chat tennis. We're kind of going back and forth, and we're listening to respond rather than listening to understand. So we're just trying to find an in for us to be able to give our thoughts or to talk about something that we wanted to talk about. The next level of listening is attentive listening, and this is where we're hearing what's going on for the person, we're listening to what we're saying, however, we're interpreting it from our own frame of reference. So they might be talking about a situation that we've been through, a similar situation, and we might say things like, oh, actually, I've been through that, and what I did was X, Y, and Z. We're interpreting it how we would interpret it. The final level of listening is empathetic listening. And what we're doing in this space is we're hearing it from the other's frame of reference. So we're hearing what they're telling us, we're hearing what is going on for them, but we're not putting our own frame of reference on it. We might say things like, that sounds really tough. That sounds like a really difficult thing you're going through. Tell me a little bit about how that feels for you. Tell me a little bit about what that means for you. We don't know what is going on for that person, and we don't know why they're experiencing it in the way that they are experiencing it. Empathetic listening gives the person the space to tell us that. It gives us the space to understand what it really means for them. It's quite a difficult thing doing empathetic listening, and we need to be in a place where we can be in empathetic listening for somebody if they're going through a difficult time or if they just want to speak to us. If we are running off to a meeting, we've got 30 seconds and we still need to go to the toilet before the meeting, we're not going to be able to be in that empathetic listening space. If we're in a crowded room where there's loads of different things going on and we can hear other people, it's going to be impossible to be in that space. So we need to make sure that when we are in that empathetic listening space, we are in the right place for it for those individuals. We've thought about being in the right space to have those conversations. We also need to think about how to start the conversation, and it can be quite a daunting task asking somebody, how are you? And it can be quite daunting to respond to that sometimes as well. So we're going to give you a couple of tools to start a conversation. The first one being the life tree. This is a lovely way to open up a conversation, and all you need to ask is, looking at these characters or jelly beans or whatever you think they are, looking at their different expressions and where they are on the tree, where would you place yourself right now? What's likely to happen is that you're likely to get a bit of a story as to why somebody has placed themselves and why they think they are that particular character at the moment. It will help open up the conversation and learn a little bit about what is going on for that individual. Mind also run a Time to Talk Day every year in February, and they also have some really lovely tools about starting a conversation about how we really are. A couple of things that have stood out to me as they've done their campaigns. The first one would be being around Ask Twice. If you've said to somebody, "How are you doing?" and they've said, "I'm fine," and you're not quite convinced that they're okay, just ask again. How are you really doing? Are you actually okay? By giving the person the indication that you really want to know what's going on for them, and it's not just a "hello, how are you doing" kind of greeting, it gives them the opportunity to really explore how they're feeling. Another one of their campaigns was around the power of small. So just asking somebody, "Do you want to go for a brew? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to have a little chat over lunchtime?" Rather than it being a big, "let's talk about your emotions at lunch," can be a really nice way to open a conversation. What you might find is that we sometimes shy away from conversations because we're a little bit unsure of what to do when things really aren't okay. We want to help you by busting those myths around mental health and encouraging you to have the conversation. When we talk about how we are feeling, it helps others to feel safe to talk about what is happening for them as well. We want to be the ripple effect that goes throughout our organisations to help people feel safe. So there's a number of different guidance that we can follow in terms of supporting a colleague if they are not okay and if they are in crisis. The first thing that I would say is that you may feel a sense of crisis too, but the first thing is that it's really important to stay calm yourself. Give yourself space to take a few deep breaths. Listen without making judgments and concentrate on their needs in that moment. Try and be in that empathetic listening space. Ask them what they think would help. They may know. Avoid confronting them and encourage them to seek appropriate help. Maybe there is somebody that you can contact, a friend or a family member. If they've hurt themselves, make sure they get the first aid they need. Maybe it's through a first aider, or maybe it's taking them to A&E. Reassure and signpost them to practical information or resources. They might be seeing, hearing, or believing things that nobody else does, and that might be a symptom of a mental health problem. That can be quite frightening, maybe quite upsetting for you and for the individual going through that. So gently remind them who you are and why you are there. Don't reinforce or dismiss their experiences, but acknowledge how the symptoms are making them feel. Shining a light on suicide is a really great piece of training, and I'd really encourage you to review it because it might help you save a life. A quick reminder on what we've been through today. Ask twice. How are you doing? How are you really doing? Think about those levels of listening and being in the empathetic listening space if you can. Check in with your colleagues and be honest and share how you feel. It's okay to talk about it, and by talking about it, you might help somebody else. Be kind to yourself. If you're not sure where to signpost somebody and you need some immediate help in your environment, there's an app called the Hub of Hope, which all you need to do is pop your postcode in and it will tell you all of the support services near you. There's also Calm and Headspace, which do some guided breathing, some guided meditation and guided mindfulness to help you stay calm. Finally, please consider one small act that will help you prioritize your well-being today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Our social media handles are on the screen at the moment. We'd love for you to come and be our friends. Thank you.